Emmett and I share a kinship that we've mentioned. We are both tour guides. And
we are.
I sat down. I was like, I got to figure out because we got to, I don't want to talk too much trade, but I want to hear some weird Seattle stories, and I've got a few that I picked out and this just kicked off by the fact that when I was looking at just general search terms for like weird facts about Seattle, more than 20% of the documented serial killers in the world are from a 200-mile radius of where we're sitting right now.
I get it, man.
So we'll start there. What's going on here?
I mean, thank you for assuming I know about serial killers. I will say...
I'm sitting right here.
Yeah. Well, I'll say this. My wife has a master's in criminology, and she went to school to be a medical examiner. And so my house is full of books about serial killers.
Oh, shit.
And puppets. And because I'm a puppet enthusiast.
And we have a calliope that's being played by a haunted monkey.
But we had my buddy, AJ Finney, who's a great comic based out of Denver. He stayed with us. I didn't know him, but he needed a place to crash for the competition. And he full on called his wife, like, I don't know if I'm going to make it, because he saw the books of serial killers, my unicorn costume I used to do stand-up in, puppets, and he's like, this is not the place to go. But the thing about Ted Bundy is, he went to high school here, so you will...
People don't know the real him. That's the issue.
Well, I was at a party, and we started talking about Ted Bundy, and there was a guy there, because, that's one of the icebreakers at Seattle parties.
Of course.
And there was a guy there, and he was like, my mom had such a crush on him in high school. They went to high school together. And he said, when they executed him, right, she made us watch like the news reports and stuff, and she had a party.
Oh my God.
Because they were like, fuck that guy. He had his chance kind of thing.
Yeah. Damn.
And my beautiful Aunt Kathy, who lives in Chicago, because he came to Utah, right? And he tried to abduct her off the BYU campus.
Whoa. Holy shit.
But like the Ted Bundy is everywhere. I was on a train from Portland to Seattle, and I sat down next to a lady, and she starts talking to me. And she talks about how when she was pregnant, some guy tried to haul her into a car, and he's pretty sure it was Ted Bundy.
Whoa.
So Ted Bundy has been a ribbon through my life. And so the fact, Dante's, remember that bar that burnt down where Ted Bundy used to play pool at?
They actually, for the longest time at Dante's, they actually had a memorial to, they had next to the pool table. They had all of the articles
and
there,
a picture of him playing pool there.
A memorial.
What's what I'm looking for, but like...
a historic plaque.
Because he picked a lot of victims up there.
And the people who danced, the people who helped catch the Green River Killer.
Oh, yeah.
Which was Kate's old boss at the Medical Examiners.
Wait, Gary Ridgway was her old boss?
No, the people who the forensic guys.
I was like, I thought he worked alone.
And what it was, how he was caught, there was a woman who was working at the medical examiner's office who was keeping samples of these murdered sex workers, even they were like, we don't have the budget to keep it on. And she defied. She could have gotten fired, but she kept the DNA evidence and kind of. But they danced at my wedding.
Oh, no shit.
So also one of the stars of Deathbed, the bed that eats people, was there too.
My mom and her boyfriend used to drink at the Gold Nugget in Tukwila, and they actually called the tip line more than once because they were like, this guy's definitely the Green River Killer. And
Yeah.
We'd have beers with him, and Arnie, her boyfriend, was like, I've been to his house, and he's got a fucking pickup that he hides under branches and foliage.
Yeah.
And they called. They're like, he's definitely the Green River Killer. They're like, thanks for calling.
At
a certain point with that case, you're like, this is the cop's fault. It's not even Gary Ridgway's fault at this fucking point.
And they were like, yeah, we knew it was him.
Yeah, and Gary Ridgway's a fucking idiot, too. He was not good at this. The cops were just that bad.
I did a show with John Keister, who was the star of Almost Live, which was kind of knockoff SNL here that is really beloved. And we did one in Renton. It was in a bar in Renton. And he goes, hey, it's the best opener I've ever heard. Is he goes, hey, did any of you guys work with Gary Ridgway? And there were some just old codgers in the back that were like, yeah. And he's like, what was it like? And like, he was a creep. And I'm like, yeah, I heard that. Yeah. I heard that you guys used to call him Green River Gary because everybody thought he did it. And somebody laughs and goes, yeah, so true. And yeah, so serial killers.
Yeah.
Fucking amazing. I just to double back at the Dante's thing, it wasn't just that they had memorial plaque. There was one booth, I would DJ there, and there was one booth we would call the Ted Bundy booth, and we'd just stare over at the dance floor. But there was different guesses. Like, he had a table. So he had a table he would go and sit at, and there's all these different guesses about it. But
the Bundy Bang experience.
The word I was looking for was not memorial. Shrine.
Shrine. Okay.
Shrine
was much more the... And now they salted the fucking ground when they took that bar down.
Oh, is that right?
First they literally salted the earth and then put rocks on top of it.
Oh shit.
Like just to kill the memory of that place.
I like that they were like, oh, we could put a park here. No, fuck you.
I don't have too much info on any like serial killers, but me and my partner Linus, we lived in a house we lived in an apartment that was like an efficiency, so it was like not a lot of room in the kitchen, so we'd like have to like kind of scooch past each other. Or like wee people, but our butts would touch. And so then we started calling it, we would say it's butt touch kitchen, but we kept calling it BTK.
Oh my God.
So my wife, when she was an autopsy tech, when we started dating, she would court me with facts. And one of the things, we'd be, cuddling, we'd be rolling around, and then there'd be a break, and she'd go, if you murder somebody, do not bury them here in the Pacific Northwest. And that's what that's how they great, because it preserves them.
Yeah,
what you want to do is you want to dump
a lie in the soil. Right?
Yeah, you want to dump a body on a logging road.
Yeah.
Because they will the insects and the other organisms and the moisture will make them completely unidentifiable. But if you are dumping a body in the desert, you don't leave them out there because they'll be mummified. But if you bury them, just by the statistics of just geography, if you bury them, the wind, the terrain will change. There'll be no mark that something's buried under
arid
there.
And humid.
And I am married to that woman
Hell
for
yeah.
15 years.
All right.
So our big debate, though, is if the argument that we have at the house a lot is, and it's after we saw the movie Trap, starring Sir Josh Hartnett, is if one of us found out the other was a serial killer, would we turn that person in? And I said, yeah, of course, because you have lied to me. And she goes, oh, so it's not unconditional love?
I would still love you.
Yeah.
But you're also gonna be a book deal.
No,
But I realized-
that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm gonna ride it out as long as I can until it gets real weird. Then I'm like, it's how I'm gonna get a Netflix special. Yeah. It's a documentary.
My Life with Kate Montgomery.
Yeah.
This was something else I found out. Hiroshi Yamauchi, the third president of Nintendo, bought the Seattle Mariners in the early 90s despite never having seen a game of baseball. He died in 2013 without ever attending a game. Shout the fuck out, dude. That's the most baller shit I've ever heard. I want to buy some shit in Japan I don't understand and then just never go. Like,
Well,
would be awesome.
Nintendo of America is based here.
Yeah, that's right. So. Yeah, but it says surely he's been to the city before, and he was just like, "Oh yeah, that thing I own. I actively hear it happening." And no,
Well, we have negligent sports owners everywhere. Howard Schultz, gave away our basketball team.
oh yeah, I've heard about that.
I do have a lot of Starbucks thoughts, too.
Oh yeah, let's go into it. Yeah, hit me with the what?
Well, so I am a tour guide out of Pike Place Market, which is one of the coolest places in the city. But people know it for the quote unquote first Starbucks.
And I forgot to bring my giant fish that we could throw.
Well,
back
the
and
fish
forth to
throwing
each
guys are fantastic.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
there's some real poetry in how they do that. And
Yeah.
it's
That's the other thing people know it for.
and then the gum wall, which is
which is disgusting.
Probably could have had Ted Bundy's DNA on it.
Yeah.
But
the one thing that I wanted to tell you that we were walking by it, and you were, or we didn't walk by it, but you like asked it. I didn't tell you the fact that they shave the wall, so that it builds back up.
They like steamed, all.
Yeah, they
off.
pressure wash it about once a year. So if you saw it. Did you see it recently?
No, I've never been. They have a smaller version at San Luis Obispo down in California.
Oh, that is that more narrow. I think it's the longest
it is
gum wall.
And
it's on each side of you, right?
The smell in there is like
yeah,
just bad breath.
It gets bad, and
it's an abscess museum.
Yeah, it's fucking awful.
But they do like they just pressure washed it in November.
Okay.
And I had a group down there today, and they like just the so many so many emotions on these people's faces. And then when I told them that they were just looking at 6 months of gum, you could see like part of their love for humanity die.
It's like when they clean it, it's like a giant prostate exam.
Yeah.
I was there in 2015 for when they first cleaned it.
Yeah, I
had a
remember
meeting
that.
there, and it looked like a sci-fi movie. It was
crazy.
People in hazmat suits lasering down thick rolls of
because it had been like since the 80s or something.
1991.
Crazy. Oh, okay, yeah,
is when it started. So
I think the wildest thing is that like it's not just that there's gum on the wall. Some people chew a whole bunch of gum,
right,
and then they sit
and make
spell out letters,
spell things. And when I became a tour guide to run tours through Pike Place Market, you have to take like a quiz and say that you're going to say certain, that you're going to stick to the facts, and kind of it's almost a loyalty oath and a code of conduct.
Yeah.
But one of the things you sign is an agreement that you are not going to have gum on you, and that you are not going to encourage people to put gum on there. But there's really mixed feelings. There's some people that want the gum wall gone entirely, but it is unkillable because
Those are the same people that don't want dancing to be legal.
Oh, well, it's the same people that try to get the fish guys to stop throwing fish, right?
Yeah. What?
But there's a real reason why they throw fish,
and all shirts should be buttoned to the top collar.
Right.
Yeah, it's
I'm gonna drive Kevin Bacon right out of this town.
Footloose was filmed in my hometown.
Oh, in Utah?
In Utah, yeah. Well, Provo High was the high school he went to.
Wow.
And the kids that are dancing at the prom and everything, like their secret prom, those are not dancers. Those are kids, people who live there. And so it was a generation before me. But my friends' older brothers and sisters, some of them were in that movie as dancers.
Oh,
right?
no shit.
And I remember that one of my friends, his sister was one of the dancers. So she would babysit us sometimes and just make us watch Footloose over and over again so she could go, look, that's me. Look, that's me.
Wow.
Yeah. So thank you. I love a good podcast that uncorks trauma.
What's your Starbucks thoughts?
Well, so it's kind of, I'll bring people, and it's not the first Starbucks. The original Starbucks burnt down in a fire, which is how most things burn down.
Yeah.
And was allowed to move into the market, kind of bending the no chain store rules, because Pike Place Market, no corporations are allowed. It's a great way to connect to the local economy. It's beautiful and weird. And so there's been some times where I was like, I want to just be a force for evil. When I do the reveal of that's not the first Starbucks, that's the third or the fifth.
Do you get a little thrill from saying that?
Sometimes, especially if one of my tour group, if they're holding Starbucks, like if they had waited an hour for that. I go, my apology. But sometimes, there'll be like a family next to this tour group, getting that selfie with the logo and everything. And I'll say it, and you could see them just, their hearts sink. So I'm like, that's not the first Starbucks.
Say it just loud enough for
that. Occasionally I want to ruin something beautiful.
Tourist trap.
But I try. But it's complicated. It's gives people joy. My favorite thing about Starbucks, though, have you heard of the Ashtaroth Ishtar goddess theory?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Here we go. My friends here have. Is that the Starbucks mermaid, which is not a mermaid, it's a siren, actually, is actually a representative of the goddess Ishtar, whose Babylonian sex and death cult would take a psychotropic drug that would allow them to get in states of hyperconsciousness. And you see the tower, right, with the eyes of the mermaid. That's Ishtar there. And so it's this sex death cult where we have all been linked in with the caffeine that they have, puts us, the psychotropic drug opens our minds for the subliminal messages of Ishtar.
Oh, wow.
And so
you got a head full of Hoffman and
I just,
behold a pale horse.
Here's the thing.
Head full of Beatty.
I just think that's fun, right?
Yeah.
That's fun. Would it be great if Seattle was the headquarters for a sex death cult? Yes. I mean, we had Mars Hill here and everything. Right. And what is Christianity if not that? But
sure.
A personal note is Howard Schultz, who is the guy that bought the stores from the original owners, was the CEO forever.
Yeah.
His daughter used to rent at the Hollywood Video that I used to manage. And he tried to get me fired. He didn't like the way that I managed the store. But I really think it's because I recommended Napoleon Dynamite to her. And then for his credit, he would come and rent videos and come in. So I would frequently talk to one of the richest men in Seattle.
It was always the movie Wall Street.
And then I would try to, well, kind of. So I'm like, well, what did you think of Napoleon Dynamite? And he goes, it's just a movie about a bunch of losers being losers.
That's like Trump fast forwards through everything that isn't fighting in Bloodsport.
Yeah.
Real thing. That's amazing. So tell me if you know this one, because this was news to me. This is from the 1930s. This is Don Ralph writing for Mental Floss. Marion Zionchek. Do you know about this? This is this is funny and then ends in a ghost story. So he served in the United States House of Representatives from 1933 until his death in 1936, and may have been one of the wildest politicians in U.S. history. A son of Polish immigrants, he began his political career as a fighter for the poor and homeless, and was elected congressman as a fierce champion of Franklin Roosevelt's New Deal. While Zionchek's heart was in the right place, his head seemed to be going in a very different direction. A week after meeting 21-year-old Ruby Louise Nix, a secretary at the WPA, Zionchek married her. Their honeymoon in Puerto Rico was memorable. He is said to have joined a student riot, drove through a rich man's gate, lapped up soup like a dog at a restaurant, and reportedly bit a driver in the neck.
Was that his obituary?
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, like...
If you're reading this, but here's a few things I did.
I am very dead now. He and his wife were also admonished for throwing coconuts out of their hotel window. He told reporters that he had invented a new drink while in Puerto Rico called the Zipper, which is made from hair tonic and rum. When he returned to Washington, D.C. after the honeymoon, he immediately sent President Roosevelt a gift package of empty beer bottles and mothballs. J. Edgar Hoover, meanwhile, received a truckload of manure. So basically, this guy just went from like regular politician in Seattle and then fucking went cuckoo bananas, as they say.
Seattle is a city founded by criminals.
Yes, yeah.
And usually the biggest criminal for a long time was the mayor, right?
Yeah.
But it's all guys. I mean, well, people have always lived here, but the folks that came and invaded were all people from the East Coast that were like the second son of the rich family.
Yeah,
or
because the first son gets the business, the second son gets the money.
Yeah, or not even, who had lost fortunes, who needed to reinvent themselves.
Yeah,
and
if it was 500 years earlier, they would have gone into the clergy, but we killed God, so they came to Oregon.
So they would come over here, and there's a great book called Sons of Profit by Bill Spadell. That's the guy who started the Underground Tour. That's really good like that. But it really is like, you look at all the street names, and I'm like, there was a weird guy with an awful mustache that did some terrible things that the street is named after.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's Los Angeles, too. Like, there's so many of those where it's some insane fucking name of a guy. You're like, oh, he was the son of a Maryland tobacco fortune, and he fucking decided to build Venice.
I I'm from Baltimore, and all our mayors have gotten. We've had like 3 or 4 mayors get ousted. My favorite one is Pew wrote her own children's book, and then sold 10,000 copies to the children's hospital.
Oh, hell yeah.
And then when she was ousted at the press conference, she refused to answer questions and instead tried to sell her brand of baby clothes.
Fuck yes. The Seattle Statesman and his bride made more headlines after a crazed 70-mile-per-hour drive up Connecticut Avenue in Washington, D.C. that ended when he parked his car on the White House lawn. He also took a drunken frolic in the fountain. With his sanity in question, Zajanček was sent to a sanitarium for a short time. In 1936, with most of his political support gone, he launched an independent re-election campaign. His prospects of winning were dwindling, and on August 7th, a discouraged Zajanček wrote a farewell note and threw himself out the window of what is today the Doubletree Hotel, formerly the Arctic Building. Yeah, that's
the Arctic Hotel is fantastic.
Oh, is it?
I recommend check it out.
Nice. So yeah, a congressman jumped out the window there, and apparently he landed next to his wife, who was waiting for the car. Just like, ooh.
She was like, "I thought you were going to take the elevator."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then she looks to the camera.
I thought you'd bounce back. Yeah. Have you heard that one? I was like, that seems like prime tour guide shit.
I haven't heard that. There's so much you could do, right?
Yeah.
And I also, I'm following the tradition of we do this free walking tour, and I'm almost generational, of like I started with the script and it evolved, but it is like how do you and there's the thing, I don't know if you experience that, you do the fun jokes and stories, and then you are standing in Pioneer Square where people have always lived, and then you talk about the genocide, right? Like, hey, fun stories.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about this. And I have had, there's been 3 times where people have just left, during the genocide.
This is woke.
And I actually had one guy, so we're not here for critical race theory. And it's like, yeah, but you did sign up for a tour, a history tour.
Yeah, you're in America.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah, and it's really kind of how it go, but I can see people like, oh, there goes my tips.
Yeah,
because I'm telling human stories here.
Yeah, with mine, it's people will often say, "Why are all the roads here in Spanish?" And I have to be like, Los Angeles used to be Spain, and then it was Mexico. Really? And these are Americans. You know what I mean? Like, it'd be one thing if it was people from other countries that didn't know that, but I'm like, yeah, man, like this whole shit was Mexico, brother.
Well,
like,
we kind of deserve what's happening to us right now. We have
100%.
dumbed ourselves into a corner.
I'm pretty, in the tour, I just kind of heads up. And I have had people, though, like, especially some private tours, be like, hey, can you take us so we don't see homeless people? And I'm like, no.
You can go to Utah.
Yeah, you can go to Central Oregon.
Yeah.
Drive through the mountains.
Yeah.
Because there's a point I talk about all the great things to do in Seattle. And one of them is we have a great drag scene here.
Yeah.
And I will see people get uncomfortable when I just say drag, right?
Yeah.
But other people light up, and
yeah.
so I shout out Jinx Monsoon.
Oh,
whatever,
see, that's, I've gotten to this point where I'm just like, in a situation like that, I would just fuck with them and be like, and if you go, you're going to catch it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I would fuck with them.
Well, I do think, because we do the free walking tour, right?
Yeah.
So the kind of hope-based business model. And for a lot of, there's 2 types of people that do free walking tours. One is they're like, oh, we can totally make this guy work for free.
Right.
But hopefully I'm charming enough to soften their hearts.
Yeah.
And then there's other people who are kind of world travel. I love a solo traveler, especially from Taiwan or from one of these places that, it took them a while to get here, because they're going to be curious and wonderful and get it. Right.
Yeah.
And off season is just amazing. I had a bunch of kids from Belarus a few months ago.
Oh, nice.
And they were fantastic. But of course, what's his name is ruining everything, because we used to have a lot of great families from Mexico City, right?
Yeah.
And then some casual people from Canada. And now there's so many more people from Florida who wandered off the cruise ship before it went to Alaska.
Yeah.
Did you say there's a ghost story with this?
Oh yeah, the splattered congressman supposedly haunts the 5th floor of the Arctic Building.
I could totally.
They said, yeah.
Oh, I think I think we all have like fun. I took you through the Rendezvous.
Tell them about that. Yeah, I was going to ask you guys, like, what's your favorite shit to show people? Because
I think I've like mentioned this on it's an old jewel box theater. It's in an old vaudeville place, and the downstairs was a speakeasy, but not in a, like, mixologist. I've got a leather. I'm a alt-right looking dude with a leather apron.
We're doing moonshine Sazeracs tonight,
but it was like legitimately a speakeasy that, like, they talk about people moving bodies through the basement, because the front part of the basement is like the front part of the basement's where we like put on comedy shows and put on a comedy show every Sunday, but like the back part of the basement there's just doors with a hole in the ground, or just like you can see where like it's always bad vibes. It's always scared me.
Back when I did a show there, when I did Magic Hat for years, sometimes if I didn't have enough actor, I just want to do something, I would take them to what I called the gurgle hole. So I would take the whole audience back through that part, and they would just look at the gurgle hole and come back.
It's just
a big hole with there's just gurgling noises coming from it.
Oh, good. Okay, yeah.
Did you ever see the gurgle hole?
Oh yeah, but it's not a place I'll ever go.
Yeah,
because the fact that it's even there still bothers me. That's something you could just fix.
Next time you come out,
But the thing is that like I've held like parties there, and I forget like. I need to know if y'all have experienced this in your time there. I'd like gone down there because I was just doing like one more walkthrough to make sure it picked up all the glassware, and I'm down there. It's like completely empty. The room feels completely full of people.
Yeah,
I don't know how to explain it, but the room just feels.
Sometimes you feel the audience that isn't there.
Yeah.
Which maybe is why having just a show of 6 people there is sometimes fun.
Oh, yeah.
Because there are more. And that is, I mean, Seattle, used to have 300 vaudeville theaters.
Yeah, I was going to say, and shout out to Ken Burns' Prohibition. I know all about Roy Olmsted, who kept this city well fucking oiled during Prohibition.
There was a couple bars downtown. I was friends with this guy who was a promoter. His family was, they were old Greek money that lived here forever. And he bought one of the clubs in Pioneer Square because his dad told him that there was actually a second club underneath of it, and they just had to excavate the floor and they could make it into a 2-story club. Well, it was a part of a tunnel as well that ran through old Seattle, but it was the booze route.
Yeah.
So it's where they would bring the booze up, store it. They would have parties in this place. So when he was doing the retrofitting and putting new walls in and shit, they also opened up a locker that was just full of clothes and bones. So
fucking nerd got shoved in the locker.
So he was like, this is where they hid bodies.
Yeah.
Like,
Miss Allison, you forgot to give us homework. Fucking nerd, and they never let him out. Yeah.
One suit and one set of bones.
The Rendezvous also had, I was just going to say the last thing, the bartender at Shorty's, the pinball bar next door, told me about him going to the Rendezvous in the late 80s and early 90s when it was still rough and tumble, because it used to have holes all through it. I remember the first time I held a comedy show there, I had Derek there. It's back when you would book the show and they would give you a case of Pabst as part of like a and then you're like, you didn't, like, the guy showed
in the green
me
room,
the guy showed me, he's like, you don't even have to go all the way back to the green room. There's a hole in the wall that somebody kicked through so you could reach back for a beer without having to go back.
Wow.
But the guy told me next door that it was so rough and tumble back in those days. There was a guy who there would be fights and stuff all the time, but the bartender told me about like the legendary person from the neighborhood. He was a dude covered in scars from being like cut open, and like he would go into the Rendezvous, he would open his switchblade before going in because he needed to be ready. He had my favorite name, and I don't know if y'all know this guy. His name is Midnight Mike.
Oh shit. Okay.
Oh, God. So it sounds like that place was haunted by living
we should
people.
do
like one of the
is that our next failed comedy show? Midnight Mike at the Rendezvous?
Hey, there you go.
Just as haunted.
There we go. This is the last thing that I had. This is Vernita Vergara writing for the lineup. And tell me if you've heard this, because this just tickled me pink. In late March of 1954, people from the town of Bellingham, Washington, began spotting dings in their windshield. Residents reported the damage to the police, who theorized it to be the work of vandals and their BB guns. And had that incident remained confined to Bellingham, perhaps that would have been the end of it, but it did not. Reports of windshield pitting soon spread to nearby towns like Seattle, and by mid-April, newspapers began covering the so-called pitting epidemic.
Which minority did they blame it on?
more and more reports of windshield damage came flooding in. The concern reached such levels that motorists stopped police cars in the middle of the street to submit reports, and soon escalated to assistance being required from Washington Governor Arthur Langley, hey now, spelled different, but and President Dwight Eisenhower. So someone wrote Eisenhower a letter that, like, the entire state of Washington's children have been militarized against windshields, and they're shooting with BBs.
They've always hated kids in this town.
Yeah. So while the initial hypothesis of hoodlums vandalizing cars with BB guns was perhaps the most logical of theories to come, many people refused to accept it. The damage was so widespread it couldn't all be the result of vandalism, surely. However, alternative theories, while much more appealing to locals, weren't any more believable. One such theory revolved around a new radio transmitter at a nearby naval station. People believed that the sound waves were causing physical oscillation in the glass.
Oh my God.
So that's theory one.
I love it.
Others thought that the dings in the windshield were caused by cosmic rays or fallout from hydrogen bomb testing nearby. Those ideas sounded interesting in theory, but when pressed to explain how either could have caused damage, nothing materialized. And perhaps most astonishing of all, some people thought that the pits were the result of hatching sand flea eggs. Never mind that it was highly unlikely that any insect or its eggs could survive the windshield manufacturing process. Nevertheless, some reported seeing glass bubbles form right before their eyes, believing it to be the work of the sand fleas.
Wow.
What's going on with the sand fleas here? I didn't quite get that part. They're just saying it's like the fleas bore into the glass and then their eggs hatch and they come out, I guess, is the idea.
Just because the glass is made out of sand at some point.
Yeah. They love it. That's their natural
white
environment.
People were so inconvenienced by sand fleas at one point. They were like, what I know about sand.
Yeah.
It's got fleas in it.
Given the widespread reports, law enforcement officials launched an investigation. They looked at 15,000 cars in the state of Washington and found that more than 3,000 had sustained damage. But as their investigation continued, they reached the conclusion that the damage was neither the result of vandalism nor nuclear fallout. Instead, officials concluded that the pits and dings had always been there. People had just started noticing them. Sergeant Max Allison, a representative from the Seattle Police Department Crime Laboratory, famously stated that the windshield pitting reports were 5% hoodlumism and 95% public hysteria. And today, most people consider the Seattle windshield pitting incident a textbook example of mass delusion.
They're pitting the windows. They're damaging the cars.
They're eating the dogs and the cats. Yeah. Although natural windshield pitting had been going on for some time, it was only when the media called public attention to it that people actually looked at their windshields for the first time and saw damage they'd never noticed before.
Wow.
So yeah, like the entire fucking state, because again, as we've stated,
Washington is a people.
We've stated this many times on the podcast. It's not even just limited to this state. It's just there used to be so much less to do. And so now, in the 50s, it was like, well, we could either go home and go to sleep or get really nervous about a crack in my windshield. So let's do that.
Robots are coming.
Right. But as tempted as I am to say that, at the same time, there are people who are, posting on Facebook right now being like, child predators are leaving notes on our cars. And you're like, no, that's not happening. I don't know what you're talking about.
So this was like the Pizzagate stuff, right? So
Right.
Yeah, I'm on Nextdoor only for the coyote sightings.
Oh, yes.
Because I'm a big fan of that. There's currently a family of coyotes that lives in Westlake Cemetery, or Lakeview Cemetery, which is where Bruce Lee is buried. And then also half of the criminals, and supposedly a beloved horse whose grave marker was done. And so if you're there at night, you sometimes can see the horse wandering around, the ghost horse. There's also a guy who's buried there who supposedly was a big fan of Little League games, was a supporter and everything. And so his ghost will show up at various Little Leagues and just cheer the kids on.
I wonder if he ever saw the guy from the obituary play in one of his horrible games.
Yeah.
I got beamed in the face.
Yeah. Ooh, it was hilarious.
We're doing a...
He deserved what came to him.
This kid went down so hard. I don't know why he's Paul
We're doing
Bearer
a
now.
cemetery tour for my birthday.
Oh, shit. Oh, nice.
Gonna
I
be
was
fun.
going to invite you, Andy, later.
You got any other weird Seattle history stuff to share with the folks? Anybody?
I mean, I born and raised here.
Yeah.
And my dad was deeply involved in the mob.
Is that true?
Yeah, it's very
yes.
true. So, there's a lot of dead people around here that all of them mob related. I mean, this city was mob, sex work, and porn.
Yes.
Up until about 88.
Yeah.
He was mostly just gross, dirty. My cousin and I left Christmas Eve one night because we were doing a family thing, and he's like, let's go to the Apple Theater. The Apple Theater was on First Avenue. It was like right next to the Pike Place Market, and it was an adult theater.
Yeah.
We'd never been there before, but we just bought a ticket for a movie and sat in there in our fucking suits, just watching guys just furiously masturbating on Christmas night. Both of us had a hot tea we brought with us and just sat in this theater.
Oh no!
And he was loving it, but I'm like, this is really the shittiest, creepiest way to spend Christmas.
Yeah.
But it's way better than spending it with my family.
Hey.
But the city was just dirty and grimy, but it was also full of character.
And beautiful.
You know, and like it had a ton of character. Like, you know, my aunt owned a wig shop right next door to that theater that they had to burn down because it was full of lice at one point, you know, like, and it was the wig shop that all of the sex workers shopped in, you
You
know.
were gonna say because it's like Goodfellas, like
Yeah, it was-
then we lit a match. Like no
Yeah,
lies,
sure.
actually a good reason.
No, they rebuilt it and filled it with wigs again. Same thing. They can't stop doing the same behavior. But then, like, at the same time, they were on Pier 34. Like, that's where they found my dad's best friend and his wife, the Crabtrees. Police dredged them out of the water because they were tied to cement blocks.
Oh fuck!
Yeah, that shit. Seattle's before it was fun and grungy.
Yeah.
You know, like it was
Always been fun and grungy.
It was
Yeah.
a fucking creep fest.
I did the walking tour of Portland, and I assume Seattle's probably the same way, where this was a logging town. The lumber industry was the thing that built Seattle. And our tour guide pointed out, they were like, the best way to tell how dangerous a place is to look at the census and look at the ratio of men to women. And Portland at least was like 9-1, like around the time it was founded. So I imagine Seattle's probably similar.
It was 70-1.
It was 70-1.
It was 70-1.
shit.
There was a guy named Asa Mercer. He was this handsome, college-educated smooth talker, and he would go to the East Coast, to Boston and various places, and this was, you know, post-Civil War, so there were a lot of like widows or people who'd left their fathers. He'd take these women, he'd talk to them about the possibility of Seattle, of all these things, and then would load them on a boat, and then the Panama Canal was not a thing at that time.
No, you had
so
to
they
go.
would go all the way, they'd stop at Panama,
Yeah.
and then they would go across the other
Overland.
side and go,
Fitzgeraldo
and
that
then
shit.
they would stop at this beautiful metropolis full of possibility and sunshine, and that was San Francisco, where they would not be allowed to leave the boat.
Yeah, 'cause
and
they
then they would go into the gloom and end up in this gloomy city where the sun had been stolen, and be like, "Oh, here you go, you got your pick of weird beardos to go."
Yeah.
And there were 3 women that said nah, and then just walked, you know, went east. But you know, they had but it was wild. And then of course they'd bring in the seamstresses, which was the term for prostitutes. But yeah, this was wild. This town was haunted and weird.
It burned down.
It did burn down, and it became a better city for it. And it made me saying, hey, it might be time.
It became a better city much later. After that,
well, I mean, at least they were able to have toilets because they raised the city off the water table.
Yeah.
But if you want to see Seattle at its coolest, there's on YouTube. There's Kolchak versus the Night Strangler.
Fuck yes! Oh,
which
that's such a
is
good movie.
So great, and that shows it when it was this wild red light.
God, it's so fucking cool.
district. So,
Hell yeah. Well,
so welcome to Seattle. Seattle free walking tours. If you're out here,
yeah. Plug it. Tell the people.
Ask for Emmett.
Yeah,
and
what's the name of
forget
the
to tip.
What's the name of it?
It's Seattle Free Walking Tours.
Seattle Free
or
Walking
Walk
Tours.
Seattle.
Walk Seattle. Seriously, yeah.
Yeah.
Get some laughs, get some information. Come on out.
Yeah,
if you're in
I'm
Seattle.
not very funny. I'm serious, and I will hold your hand the entire time.
Okay, all right, nice.
Tip big.
All right, well, yeah, and tip big, and if you need the halfway dumbass tour of Los Angeles, you can come see me.
I'll take that, and I'll
Hell
sit.
yeah.
So you drive a bus, right?
It's a van. It's a van. It's an unmarked minivan with a leather interior.
Oh wow! And so take Rivers tour.
If you
sit
have
behind him, smell his hair the whole time.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a lot more money to smell my hair, though. It's not a free tour.
Yeah. To smell my hair, it's a suggested donation.
Feels are free.
Yeah.
You could just do it, though.
You could, but remember, even if it's free, there's an emotional cost.